We're talking Portland Trailblazers and the aggregators picking up a comment from Aaron Fentress of the Oregonian that Anthony Simons and Jerami Grant could be dealt, both of them potentially by the start of training camp, and we ran through that pretty quickly. That is not something that is imminent at all. Maybe
No.
Jerami Grant, but...
I mean, even then, it sounds like things have cooled down there. Although Zach Lowe on his podcast, The Lowe Post, on Friday said, should I buy my Jerami Grant Lakers jersey?
Oh.
So I kind of chuckled at that. I'm like, it's made its way out there now.
Yeah.
Huh? Okay. So,
This isn't the players posturing for news to get out either.
No, it doesn't sound like this is either agency. I've done my, I should say, due diligence of, hey, is checking in with agencies like, hey, are you guys trying to source some things or flush some things out? And it doesn't sound like that's the case. So everything's like I've said before on the podcast. Everybody's stone cold chilling right now as far as the transactional world.
All right, basketball coverage on The Fan is presented by T-Mobile. Switch to T-Mobile and you can get tons of benefits and still save on every plan versus AT&T and Verizon. Use their savings calculator now to find out how at T-Mobile.com/switch. All right, so Lakers obviously very interested in Jerami Grant, and that is no surprise to anybody.
Yeah, no, I think that's 100% out there.
And they need a player of his style and caliber. They don't have a lot to offer, but 2029 and 2031 first-round picks
and necessary
would be okay.
salary. Yeah, I think that Portland would be interested in that. Make the protections very light, as in like top one at most.
And then you have Anthony Simons. Like, look, we can start having these conversations because they're out there now. Like, although very vague. Which teams would fit Anthony Simons? And I think the one that has kind of popped out to everybody, and these rumblings started at last trade deadline, was the Orlando Magic.
Yeah, the Magic still have a gaping hole when it comes to shooting. They just don't have a lot of it. Like, getting Kentavious Caldwell-Pope was helpful, but he's a catch-and-shoot guy. He's not an off-the-bounce shooter. Paolo's not a shooter. Franz, his three-point shot completely disappeared. It was just MIA entirely. Wendell Carter Jr. is a decent pick-and-pop big. I think he shot 35% last year, if I remember right, from three. So he's not like he's out there just bombing away. This isn't Chet Holmgren spacing the floor kind of a deal.
Yeah. The question would be, would the size that Orlando has to offer still be as attractive to the Portland Trailblazers in these discussions as long as you still have Jerami Grant on your roster? Because the additions this offseason have been Denny Avdia, who is long. I mean, he's not 6'11", but
6'9".
He's long and can play both the swing forward positions. And then Donovan Clingan, 7'2" center, and they've added size down there. Would that deter maybe Portland from trading for another longer player?
No, I think that's a bigger, longer, stronger. That's kind of like the MO of the Portland Trailblazers front office. I mean, you draft Shaedon Sharpe, you trade for Denny Avdia, you trade for Toumani Camara, everybody they've tried to get, with the exception of Scoot Henderson, in which I think if you put a gun to their head, they probably would have been like Brandon Miller, like just because he's 6'9". Stylistically, everything they've wanted to do is be bigger, longer, stronger, more athletic, and I don't think that's going to change.
And I think that also leads us to the order of operations for the Blazers and how they would go about this would be move Jerami first, then move Ant second.
I think that's probably how they would if they could have it anyway, they would probably like to do it.
And that also fixes any concern that you would have of having a log jam.
Well, here's the other thing is there's going to be a log jam regardless if you think about this. Right now the roster's full. They can't do like a 3-for-1 swap without having to cut guys or trade guys somewhere else or eat money. And it's like they're in, like, if you do, let's just say they do the transaction that's been tossed around, which is Jerami Grant to the Lakers for Rui, Gabe Vincent, 2 firsts. We're doing 2-for-1. So that means somebody needs to get swapped, or you need to find another home for Gabe Vincent. Like that, and he's $11 million worth of kind of dead money.
That'd be hard to trade.
Yeah, it's like, hey, does anybody else out there want $11 million of dead money because Gabe Vincent didn't play basketball last year?
I mean, well, that's what the Chicago Bulls were trying to do with Zach LaVine.
Buddy,
and this is the one I wanted to talk to you about because I saw this late last week.
ruthless.
And they wanted to. It's no secret. They've been wanting to get off of the Levine deal
for more than a year, like 14
over a year.
months. Yeah.
When the ink dried, they were like, "This was a bad idea."
And here's the crazy thing, and I always have to throw this out there because I have to throw shade at the Bulls because I cannot believe they're this stupid. They had the opportunity to
I'd
trade.
like it to be known right now. Danny said shade at the Bulls.
Yes.
Okay. AM radio, the processing
it
could be.
Okay, there we go.
You want to throw shade at the Bulls.
Shade.
There you go.
Enunciate very cool, very, very much. We'll go to the tape. There you go. Let's go to the tape. But they had the opportunity to trade Zach LaVine for Jaden Ivey to start this season, and they said no. They said no.
All right.
I've got that from very, 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 very plugged in reputable sources, and they said no. So it's become unquestionably funny that it went from that, which like, oh, Jaden Ivey's like, it's like, well, yeah, he was a lottery pick a year ago.
Top 5.
Yeah, like, can we chill on that? Yeah, he was 5th. I can remember the Pistons 5th over and over again. But now even if they include a first round pick with him, they can't move off of him.
Yeah.
Like and this is that new CBA. It's not just a second apron, but it's teams going, we're no longer going to pay a premium for players that aren't maxes. Like it's just not, it's so prohibitive on the freight that it's just, the problem here is the Bulls, much like the Nets were in this position last year where they wanted to suck, but they didn't control their own future.
Yeah.
Well, the Bulls have Zach LaVine and Nick Vucevic. Like it's a high enough threshold to be like, we can't really suck. The Trailblazers can because they have all of these young guys and people can magically get hurt.
Magic.
But if the Bulls are trying to rehab Zach LaVine and get his trade stock up, what does he have to do? Play basketball. No, they can still suck. But it's harder to suck in the East because there's so much more suck in the East. In the West, everybody's better than Portland. So it's really not hard. Like they've been picked to finish last in the conference, and they rightfully should right now. So the Bulls are in this weird position where they need to suck, but their owner won't truly let them, but he also won't let them get good.
Which is really interesting because he is allowing the White Sox just to suck.
Which is weird. Like I don't. Jerry Reinsdorf very much feels like he's trying to let the White Sox get moved to Nashville.
Yeah.
Weirdly enough, it's like, why would you want to move out of the Chicago market, even though the Cubs dominate it? It's still the Chicago market. Like, is the Nashville market going to be that good to you? Okay, I guess, but go with God. But as far as the Bulls, like, it's just like it's kind of like Nixian for the past 20 years, prior to the past like 2 years, where it kind of feels like James Dolan. It's just you're just rudderless. It doesn't make any sense. There's no real direction. They're not stripping it actually all the way down. They're not going all the way in. It's just, ugh.
Yeah.
It's just it's a nasty place to be.
No man's land.
Yeah, no, that is a true hellscape for development one way or the other.
Kind of sounds familiar. Portland's been there before.
They were never in that, like, the Blazers were the top of the trash heap.
Yeah, right,
the Bulls are the trash heap. That's where they are. It's just, it's bad, man.
All right. Okay, so that's some Blazer talk. There's actually Blazer news here. July 30th, 2024. We had a little bit of Blazer news today that we needed to parse through.